Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Here we are again on MFSN's Baseball Waiver Wire. I'm here with Vlad to the Bone, Kasey Scheinvold, and Ross the Boss.
Hey, everybody, I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk fantasy baseball waiver wire with you, cowboy.
And listen, I forgot to even introduce myself. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and here we are. We're ready to discuss 60% and under in Yahoo leagues. This is the way we do it. I do want comments from the crowd, though. If you guys have things to say, we want to hear who you think we should be picking up, who we should be recommending, all that sort of thing. So if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below. And if you would like to come on the show to talk with us, you can go to www.callmfsn.com. You can come on video or audio. Those are our only two options, but those are pretty good. Okay, guys, let's talk about catchers. We're going to start with you, Ross the Boss. We always start with you because I've been flogged enough to know.
So we're in week 6, guys. Week 6, 6 weeks of Major League Baseball in the books. So it's going quick.
It is. It really.
So let's talk about catchers. As we know, a lot of catchers are struggling this year. You know, it's like they may have like six home runs or 7 home runs, but they're hitting like 200. So with catchers, I have a couple good pickups. You probably don't have them on your list, but I have them on mine. First one is William Contreras. He's the backup catcher for Atlanta. The starting catcher for Atlanta is on the 60-day DL. So Contreras is going to get a lot of starts. He's really never been in the major leagues that much. He shows a lot of promise. I don't mind spinning the wheel of chance with William just because there's really not much out there. So you pick up this guy. The Atlanta lineup's potent, as Kasey Scheinfeld can tell you. It's like an all-star at every position. It's unbelievable. And that's who I have as my top pickup, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. I have one more, but I'll talk about it.
Well, listen, if you're going to pick up William Contreras, you really should have the decency to call him Bill, at least. All right, Kasey, you bring up yours. I've got several, so you can't take
I got one more,
right.
but I'm being polite. I'm being polite, Ross, right now.
I'm very glad you called on me then, because I don't have a lot. I have Mitch Garver still in Minnesota. We've been talking about him for
200, just so you know, Kasey, 200.
Okay, in the last 2 weeks, he's batting .292 with 4 home runs. So
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I'll take it at the catcher position especially because you're not, as we've alluded to, it's one of the thinnest positions for fantasy production out there when you're not factoring any defensive metrics in, which I don't know many fantasy leagues that do. And so I'll take a catcher who can hit me an average of a couple home runs a week and bat just below 300.
He's definitely below 300 always, but he might be below 200 if you're not careful. You have the wrong Minnesota catcher, Kasey. The one you want to pick up.
Are you going with Astudillo?
Williams Astudillo. This is the man.
Astudillo.
Let me tell you why. Okay, he's not getting a ton of at-bats, but his batting average will be good. And you pair him with one of these terrible hitters who's going to give you power. In fact, Mitch Garver is a great one to pair with. But I had that pairing, and guess what? I decided to move on. I decided to go with Dom Nunez of Colorado. I think they're the same player, but Nunez has a little more upside. That's what I'll say about catcher. Ross, you had some more. Go ahead, give me one more name.
I have the Washington Nationals. He's batting .265. It's okay. I mean, it's not great, but Yan Gomes. I mean, he's a great defensive catcher. He'll play about 4 or 5 starts a week. If you need a catcher, he's very solid. He'll be good throughout the year. He has power too, so he'll hit your 20 home runs this year. So Yan Gomes is somebody that I like. I don't love, but again, like Kasey said, it's very, very skin pickings here with catchers here in
yeah, but listen, Yan Gomes, you could do a lot worse. He's not going to kill you in batting average, and he gives you some decent numbers. I like that call. We're going to go with first base. Kasey, we're going to start with you. Who's your top first baseman?
I think one of the top is Brandon Belt. He's been playing really well for the last few weeks. I think most of the season, actually, he's doing pretty well. He's batting .309 with 9 home runs. So on the season, that's awesome. In the last 2 weeks alone, what do I have his numbers at? He's down to 256, but 4 home runs and 12 RBIs. So he's burned because he was a top prospect when he first came up with the Giants. And then he scuffled. He never lived up to the potential. And so he's been put on the back burner for most of his career. He's not flashy, but he's putting up numbers that would put him amongst the top 10 to 15 first basemen.
He's also got a great nickname, if I'm remembering this correctly. I believe his nickname is Baby Giraffe.
Baby Giraffe, yep.
Baby Giraffe. I was like, that either that's a great nickname or I dreamed a really weird thing and just shared it with everybody. But, oh well. Brandon Belt was my top pickup at first base also. But, Ross, we've got to come up with some others. And
Brandon Belt, I didn't have those stats. I had him 309 with 9 home runs last season, Kasey. This season I'm having with 8 home runs. I don't think your stats are right. You may want to check it out. I could be wrong. But Brandon Belt has never, in 11 seasons.
You're correct. I apologize.
I'm always correct. I have to correct you because.
And I own it.
Okay, you own it. Just like Naz Reid in basketball, you owned it.
Naz Reid was really productive for a month.
Forget about Naz Reid. I'm joking. But I just want to correct you. So this year he's hitting 229 with 8 home runs. Not too bad for a first baseman. In his career, he's played 11 seasons, Kasey, in Major League Baseball. How many times has he had over 20 home runs? How many, Kasey?
I don't know if he ever has.
0. You're right, yeah. Kasey. You redeemed yourself. There you go. You did it.
Okay, but
another guy that I like is Ryan Mountcastle, plays for the Baltimore Orioles. He is a stud. His fielding's horrible. I mean, he can't field. I mean, he's just awful. But the Orioles are so high on this kid that they're going to let him make errors because his offense, he hasn't really shown it much right now. I mean, his hitting's not the best, but he has 2 home runs in the past 4 games. He's getting hot, and he could be a good pickup right now because if you don't pick him up in the next couple of weeks, I don't think you'll get him. But Mountcastle has so much potential, and if you need a first baseman, you probably don't. But if you need like a utility guy, pick him up. See what he does.
Listen, to me, Brandon Belt is the clear pickup at first base, but I would say if you need somebody in a pinch, Asdrubal Cabrera is actually hitting pretty well. He's only 25% owned. He's always done pretty well. He's not going to win you any leagues, but he's also not going to lose you any leagues. And so I think you go with him. And by the way, speaking of people being wrong, we talked about this last week. Let's talk about Hunter Dozier.
You know what Hunter hit it after we talked. Since we talked, he's hitting .43. 43. It's unbelievable. I think I hexed the kid. I don't know what happened.
Awesome.
I mean, he actually hit a home run that night, and that was it. Then he went he was getless. It was unbelievable.
Then he turned into a pumpkin or Hunter Dozier.
I don't know. It was crazy.
Another first baseman you can go with, although he plays third base too, and Dan, you mentioned him a few weeks ago, is John Mark Candelario. He still continues to hit pretty well there in Detroit. I'm not sure he's listed as day-to-day. I'm not exactly sure what his day-to-day condition is, but he's another guy he's not flashy, but right now, at least this season, he's been pretty steady.
Yeah. Now let's also say Brandon Belt is also day-to-day. It's just a slight side strain. He's supposed to be fine. I would not worry about Baby Giraffe. His long neck will carry him through. All right. We're going to go to second base. And this time I think I might start out. Is that okay?
That's exciting.
Master of wit. You do it.
You know what? No, I'm going to go with third base. I want to start at third base. Is that okay? All right,
yeah.
Kasey, you start us off at second base.
You go.
I'm going to go with a Cincinnati Red, and that's Nick Senzel.
That's who I had too. I love Nick.
He's playing center field, but he also qualifies at second base. And considering the scarcity of quality second basemen, anybody who has that designation is somebody worth playing. And Nick Senzel, in the last couple of weeks, seems to have woken up. He's batting over 400. Or he's batting right at 400. He's scoring runs. He even has a stolen base in there. And we know speed is one of his calling cards. At least it was in the minors when he came up. So he's not a bad guy. If he climbs up higher in the Reds order, he could put up some pretty good numbers for you.
All right. I'm going to go with Nick Madrigal. Look, I understand he's going to hit -1 home runs on the year. He might go negative, but he's still going to score a lot of runs in that lineup. And his batting average will help you deal with your catcher who's hitting 180. So I think decent pickup. I know Ross agrees because he owns him, so I'm not going to even.
I'll probably drop him. He hasn't done anything with RBIs, and he hasn't stolen a base in a week. So, I mean, I don't know why I have him on my team. I have no idea.
I don't know. Well, we're going to find out if he's on your team next week because Hunter Dozier isn't. We know that. Okay, Ross, second base.
Second base, I was sitting at home with my shoes off on the couch watching the Dodgers play the Seattle Mariners. Tied game. Up to plate is Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux hits a huge home run. I mean, this ball was 400 feet. Unbelievable. I think Lux, in the past week, he's hitting actually 286. and he's playing a lot better ever since he came back from that injury. He was on the DL for a little bit. And I think the hype and like this kid, I think he's going to live up to it now. I feel that Gavin Lux is going to have a great June and July, maybe even a great May. We'll see what happens, but he's on the upswing. So if you need a second baseman that has power and speed, Gavin Lux is your man.
All right, I'm going to say one more, but actually this is going to be my start into third base because he's the second baseman and third baseman. I like Ty France. Ty France, he's coming back from injury. He's been hitting pretty well. He's a young prospect, and I'm even going to say one more. I'm going to hog this, and then it's going to make Ross go
I got
crazy.
one, but I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
I hope I take yours, so that I'll put you on the spot. Austin Riley. He's finally arrived.
You're staying at third base. Okay.
I'm staying at third base. Yes, you can go back to second base if you want. But Austin Riley is actually, his plate discipline has improved this year. Finally, he was like, he was a good prospect, but his plate discipline was terrible. He's finally addressed the thing he needed to address. If you need help, pick up Austin Riley. All right, Kasey, who was your second baseman?
Well, he actually qualifies at first, second, short, and the outfield. And maybe I just have a thing for Detroit Tigers this year, but Nico Goodrum in the last 2 weeks is batting over 300 and has stolen 4 bags. He seems to be getting a lot of playing time. Willy Castro isn't really playing that well at shortstop, so they're giving him some more days off. And he's a guy who can fill in all over the field. He qualifies at 4 different positions, including 3 on the infield. So if you need speed, if you need average, he's certainly a good guy to take a flyer on.
Ross, anybody else to say about second base or third base?
Third base, I'm going to say, I can't say his name, Kasey. I need your help.
Asdrubal Cabrera?
Asdrubal Cabrera. We already talked about him.
I know, but I haven't done a third base. The reason I like him the past 2 weeks, he's been hitting 360. The guy's on a major tear right now. I mean, the guy's doing unbelievable, but he plays third base also. I know we talked about him, but what I'm saying is I didn't have many great pickups on third base. It's probably my weakest position this week. So I think Cabrera is like the only guy I would pick up at third base right now. Everybody else is not that great.
No Austin Riley for you in the last 2 weeks. Austin Riley's batting .348.
And I know we're looking at performance the last 2 weeks, but I still think he's still only owned in, 33% is Nico Horner. He's on the IL right now, but he qualifies at both second and third. A stud young guy for the Cubs. He's going to run a lot when he gets back in the game. He's hit for average everywhere he's gone. He was tearing the cover off the ball in spring, and even when he was called up. So he's somebody, if you have the room to stash, that's somebody I would definitely stash on my roster.
Is he the great-grandson of Bob Horner? I think he might be. No, that would be a lot of generations to wedge in there. Bob Horner.
Grandfather, not as great.
Just grandfather, yeah. I didn't mean to say that about you, Bob.
Devil, Bob Horner.
I didn't know that. Wow. I learned so much about Arizona State when I am around Ross. Okay, we're going to do shortstops, and then we're going to get to our special category. Ross, I will start with you on shortstop.
I'm picking another San Francisco Giant. We're so hot on the Giants right now, and they're in first place. It's unbelievable. They're in their West. Everybody predicted them to be last place. Kasey Scheinfeld did. And look at them. They're in first place, and it's middle of May. They're playing great baseball. Brandon Crawford has 7 home runs in 103 plate appearances. And if he times that by 5, he's going to have 35 home runs this year. I don't think he's ever hit over 20. But Brandon Crawford with the home runs and RBIs, this guy's just tearing it up at shortstop. If you need a shortstop, that's your guy.
All right, Kasey, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I like that pick too. I mean, there must be some fountain of youth in San Francisco right now because all of these veteran players are suddenly rejuvenated. So whatever they're doing over there, keep doing it. I like Jorge Polanco, although he's primarily a second baseman right now in Minnesota. He qualifies at short. He's been playing really well the last couple of weeks, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. And Miguel Rojas, we've mentioned him before in Florida. He's a good young player. He's batting over 300. He scored 11 runs alone in the last 11 games. So he can help you statistically as well.
Okay. I had Miguel Rojas up on my list. Miguel, Crawford, I'm wary about because you just laid out the math, Ross. Is he going to hit 35 home runs?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, can you imagine Brandon Crawford, 35 home runs? He has more home runs than all these huge home run hitters. I don't think he can do it, but
I think the top he'll hit is 23 homers. We'll find out.
Write that down, Case.
23.
I'm going to give you a relative deep dive because he is 4% owned. I'm not saying he's my top shortstop pick, but if you need somebody deep, J.P. Crawford on Seattle is starting to hit. And this was a serious prospect.
Yeah, in the Phillies system.
I like JP. He leads off for the Mariners. I watched him play last night, and he's from Southern California, and he has so much potential. I like that pickup.
It's a great one to snag. He's flying under the radar now. He's one of these post-type sleepers. It's amazing how fast they become post-type. Okay, guys, now let's move into our special category. This special category is the players who you've had on your team because they're just too valuable to cut, but they have sucked all year, but we think they're going to turn the corner now. Okay? I'm going to start off with Francisco Lindor, and I'll tell you why he's going to turn the corner. It's because of his BABIP. The good old BABIP, batting average on balls in play. When you look at it, you can tell. Courtney's shaking her head because we're like seriously nerding out on fantasy sports. But hey, listen, you got to know these things, Courtney. If you were playing fantasy baseball, you would need to know BABIP. And that is, it's showing that Francisco Lindor was really not getting lucky on his hits. He's pressing a lot too. He's still way too good of a player.
He's getting paid a lot too, isn't he?
He is.
341 million, I think.
And he's going to have a down year. He's already made for a down year. It's built in with the April that he had in the beginning of May. But he's starting to turn the corner. I think he is a player that you would want to trade for right now. His value is low. Kasey, who do you got?
Well, if we're looking at our own rosters, you did that with Francisco Lindor. I'm going to say Christian Yelich. Him mostly because of he's coming off a down year last year, catastrophically bad. But he's been hurt most of this year with back issues. Maybe he needs a mind-body specialist to help him work through it. We can talk about that at a different time.
Yeah,
but he should be coming back soon, ideally, and he's just too talented to hit that poorly throughout the year if he can stay healthy. But his value is low. It might be a good time to try to speak to a Yelich owner and see if you can pry him away.
And Ross, how about you? Are you going to go with your roster too?
I'll go with my roster. I'll pick Suarez of the Cincinnati Reds. He's hitting like a 140. I mean, he's I think like 4 games he's actually struck out 4 times. I mean, he's had a horrible April. I mean, the past 6 weeks has just been a downfall. Remember, this guy had over 100 RBIs like 4 seasons in a row. Like, unbelievable hitter, unbelievable. He had a home run last night, and I think we'll see what happens with him. I think he has to start hitting. The only way you get out of a slump, there's only one way to get out of a slump. You know what it is, Case? It's playing every day and hitting. That's the only way to get out of it. So he has to play. They're not going to bench him, and he'll be playing. So I feel Suarez is somebody that's going to start killing the ball, especially when he gets hot in Cincinnati.
Listen, it's true. The only way you get out of a slump is by going into the future. If you stay in the present, you won't hit a thing unless today.
Suarez, and then some other players that I was like thinking about is Cody Bellinger, who hasn't played at all this season. He's somebody that the owners must be going crazy with him. I mean, they must be pulling their hair out. I would if I owned him, but because they're upset with him, maybe it's a good time to trade for him. Another guy that we talked about before the show is Juan Soto. I mean, he's hitting 230, 4 home runs. I mean, this guy's supposed to be the number 2 pick in fantasy, or even number 1 pick in some leagues in fantasy baseball, and he's hitting 230, and he's barely hitting any home runs and RBIs on the Nationals. It's unbelievable. So Soto, I know some owners are upset with him. One of them's here with us right now, and it could be a good time to trade for him.
Yep, and you know what? It even could be a good time to trade him away if the value has not sunk. If people are still like, because he may be struggling. And listen, I had an argument with one of our chat MVPs, Sam Jacobowitz, about whether Ronald Acuna was better than Juan Soto. I'm damn right about that one. And I picked Soto, and now I'm pissed. Here's another thing. This is just I think I'll do this every week for a while because I like to argue with the fans out there. I mean, I don't mean anything by it, but I love a debate. And I love that somebody said to me, I can't believe you don't have Ian Happ in the top 10 outfielders. And I was like, are you insane? Ian Happ is not in the top 50 outfielders. And I was right about that one too. I'll admit when I was wrong.
So far.
Listen, I'll bet the farm on that. Okay. We're going to get back to outfielders. Ross the boss, I'm going to let you start off because I see your energy sagging a little bit. And when your energy sags, I know I got to throw you a bone.
Up here. I like Willy Calhoun for the Texas Rangers. Willy Calhoun had so much potential when he came up. I remember people were so high on this guy. And I think he's sitting as a stride. He's sitting like over 300 right now. He's only striking out 12% of the time, which is unbelievable for him. And he's that high potent Texas Ranger offense in the summer. He's just going to get better and better and better. Willy Calhoun is, for me, if I could pick somebody up in the outfield, he'd be my first pick. Hopefully he's available in your league.
Kasey, who do you got?
2. I'm going to go with I still can't understand why Tyler O'Neill, given his pedigree and what he's known for, is only 32% owned. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's stolen 3 bags and hit 3 homers in the last 2 weeks. I'm trying to find steals when I'm looking at the waiver wire right now because as an Adalberto Mondesi owner, I'm lagging in the speed department.
I have a guy for you, Kasey. I have a guy for you. I have somebody that's 1% owned that's going to help you.
And then the other guy, again, I'm going back to my Tigers, is Robbie Grossman. He's batting leadoff for the Tigers right now. And he's stolen 4 bags alone in the last 2 weeks while batting .280 and driving in 9 runs. To drive in 9 runs from the leadoff spot in 10 games or 11 games is pretty darn impressive. And so those are 2 outfielders who I would rush to the waiver wire to add if they were available.
He's actually leading. He's leading the American League in stolen bases.
He's tied with Trey Turner for crying out loud in steals.
Yeah, but Trey's in the National League. But yes,
but still,
he's doing unbelievable.
Elite company.
No, Robbie's like 99% not owned for Robbie Grossman. That's a great pickup.
It's incredible. And not only that, he sounds like a 13-year-old bar mitzvah boy. I just, sometimes I hear those names and I just imagine. But hey, listen, I was wrong about Tim Anderson, economics major. He's a great player. Tyler O'Neill was my top pickup in the outfield also. He's got 3 homers and 3 stolen bases.
What's Tyler hitting? I mean, his batting average when I last saw it wasn't that great.
I don't know what it is for the season, but in the last two weeks,
I know it's the last 2 weeks. I know.
310. Okay. 8 runs, 10 RBIs, 3 homers, 3 stolen bases. He ranks 11th overall in the last 2 weeks. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but he can be an impact player for sure. Another guy that I really like and did all along and drafted him. I did cut him because I needed the roster space, but AJ Pollock, who I believe Ross has scooped up, the guy is going to be day-to-day for the rest of his life, but he can hit the ball. He's a great hitter.
And if you're looking for power, Adam Duvall.
31 home runs last year, Kasey. Did you know
the last 139 games, he's got 31 home runs. That's pretty good.
I mean, he's been on fire. Adam Duvall looks great. You're right. I mean, he doesn't hit for average, but
no.
Duvall, either feast or famine for him. It's a great pickup.
He is the best Duvall to pick up. Robert Duvall will do nothing.
I like Robert Duvall. He's in one of my favorite movies.
He's been in a lot of great movies, but he's not going to hit you any homer.
Yeah,
all right, I'm going to mention one other outfielder that really has surprised me. Ross, you're going to like this. You ready?
Yeah.
Tyler Naquin. He's on the Reds.
Tell me why. I know where he is.
It's because of the Reds lineup, and he's getting playing time. And the thing is, there's not a lot of pressure on him at all. He's getting good pitches to hit, and I'm not saying he's not somebody I'd pick up for the long term. He's more of a head-to-head pickup.
How do you guys feel about Harrison Bader?
I like Harrison Bader for the St. Louis Cardinals, correct? He's a young stud. I mean, I'm worried about that St. Louis lineup and not playing every day. That's the only reason I wouldn't like Harrison that much. I know he's just coming off the DL. I know he was hurt, but he has so much potential. I just don't know who's going to be starting in St. Louis. I really don't.
Yeah, because you have to assume Dylan Carlson and O'Neill are going to occupy 2 of those outfield spots, but Bader's the best defensive outfielder they have. I think that's what gets him in the lineup.
Again, the kid has so much potential. I like Bader, and I think he's available like in 95% of the leagues. It's like some crazy number.
Yeah, and then I have one more person to add, although he's the utility position. We've never gotten into a straight DH, and he hasn't been hitting really yet, but Chris Davis in Texas, Chris with a K.
I like Chris Davis. Next Oakland. Look, I'm wearing my A's shirt.
There you go.
Nice.
What was he like? He's a
monster.
He's a monster.
If you look at his past years, Case, I mean, he has like 30 home runs, like 7-8 years in a row. It's like a crazy stat.
Yeah, and
he gets no press because he was in Oakland for all those years. You guys know that. I mean,
and he had a really bad 2019, I think, which
he got hurt,
torpedoed his value.
Yeah,
but he's healthy now, and in Texas's ballpark, if he's getting regular at bats, I just think it's somebody worth taking a flyer on, and he's available in 98% of Yahoo.
Is he
leagues.
playing every day? I know Dahl's there too. I know Dahl and him split time, right? Is that what's happening?
That's a good point, actually, because sometimes a player is a good pickup in daily lineup leagues. There are weekly lineup leagues, which if you're going to do that, I'm like, why are you playing baseball? Come on. Baseball is a daily lineup game. Right. Come on. But speaking of that, Jurickson Profar, he's another guy that I think is of interest, especially with Tatis being out with COVID.
But didn't Profar also just go COVID?
He did. COVID? I just saw it. Scratch that from the record. It didn't happen. I swear. All right,
rewind.
Fine. You know what I'm going to do? Then I'm going to
it.
go to Jock Peterson, because Jock Peterson, he is a good split stat guy. He crushes righties. When in doubt, go with a righty crusher. And I think
not
that's the way to go.
Lefties.
Yeah, well, and listen, I should also say this. If you didn't want to pick up Hunter Dozier for first base or third base, you can also not pick him up in the outfield. Okay, guys, it's time for starting pitching.
That's a dig on me, everybody. Keep going.
It's not really. It's more having fun with you, Ross. I mean, come on. Starting pitching. Let's go. We're going to start with Kasey. Don't go ballistic on me.
Okay. I'll name two so that I don't step on anybody's toes. The first one I'm going to name is Nick Pavetta in Boston. It seems like everybody in Boston is doing pretty darn well, and Nick Pavetta is part of that. He got out. I don't know. He had a lot of potential when he was in Philadelphia. Every year he was rated as a breakout potential or a sleeper. Maybe he finally put it all together. He's striking out a batter an inning. His ERA is under 3 in the last couple of weeks. His whip is certainly in the manageable range. So he's a good one. And then I'm going to go with Taiwan Walker. We've talked about him a couple times in New York with the Mets. He pitched well last year for Toronto. He seems to have carried it over this year. You can do worse than a pitcher who has the peripherals he's having and pitching in Citi Field in the National League. He's going to never really have to face a DH except in interleague play. And so his numbers tend to get a boost from that.
He's the anti-Francisco Lindor. When pitchers go to the Mets, it's good. You like that. Ross, who do you have at starting pitcher that is under 60% owned?
Is Walker Buehler, is he under 60%?
Buehler?
No, he's not.
He gave up 3 home
might be
runs
able
last
Cameron
night.
Fry.
So all my guys are like under like 10%. I mean, I went with pitchers that have huge upside and they're not taken in any league. So if you want to pick them up and they have great arms, it's a good idea. My first one is Tyler Anderson. He pitches from Milwaukee. The Pirates, excuse me.
Yeah, you can see Adrian Hauser is the one who pitches for Milwaukee.
So Tyler Anderson, ERA around 3, 7 starts, has never gave up more than 3 runs, and this kid has unbelievable stuff, unbelievable breaking stuff. He plays for Pittsburgh. I know, Ross, you're saying I don't want a Pittsburgh Pirate. If you need somebody that's going to have a good ERA, won't kill you with ERA, gets strikeouts, he's a good pickup. He's available in a lot of your leagues. Another guy I said a few weeks ago, but he's been on a tear lately with the Red Sox, is Garrett Richards. He played for the Angels and Padres. He's been around, journeyman. But in the past 3 starts, his ERA is like under 2. I mean, he's striking out. He's like 18 strikeouts in like 15 innings or something crazy. But Garrett's pitching great. I mean, he's somebody he's not hurt. He's ready. The Red Sox are in first place. It's a good pickup.
I like those pickups. And
I do too.
It's interesting how pitchers end up being called journeymen, because like Garrett Richards was a high prospect. He was.
But the journeyman in the fact that he's not.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just think it's interesting.
He's not married on a team, and I get it. He's a 4th starter on most teams, and But Ross, you made another.
Be an ace.
You made another good point though, which is like you can pick up pitchers on bad teams. People always say, oh, no, he's not going to get wins on the Pirates. You know what gets you wins? It's not actually what team you play for. It's how deep you pitch into the game. If you go 7 innings and you're on the Pirates, you're more likely to win than if you go 5 on the Yankees. It really is true.
And let's be honest, Jacob deGrom is the perfect example of why wins don't define a pitcher's value. Like Felix Hernandez 10 years ago or 12 years ago in Seattle when he won a Cy Young with like a 7-12 record or whatever it was.
That's also true. Now, I think Jameson Talon he's a great pickup. Kasey, you called this at the beginning. Anybody on the Yankees pitching staff I wonder how owned is Corey Kluber at this point? It's well over 60, I think.
Oh, it's well over 60. I'm not sure what the exact percentage is.
Is he breaking out again? I think that's an interest. We'll get to who's maybe breaking out. That's what we'll do after we do relief pitchers. But I think Jameson Taillon is one. Cole Irvin, I mentioned last week. I think it's last call on Cole Irvin. I think that pitching in that huge, roomy Oakland Coliseum, I think you want to grab him. And he's 49% owned. This is probably last call. Ross, did we miss anybody?
We did pretty good. I think we covered it pretty well.
I have one for the Chicago Cubs. Adbert Alzolay is 17% owned, I believe, right now in Yahoo, and he has a .88 WHIP going on this year. His ERA is a little bit up, 4.5, because of home runs he gave up in his last start, but he allowed 4 hits or 2 walks, and he's allowed no more than 4 hits or 2 walks in each of his last 4 starts. So he's limiting base runners, and he's got the best stuff, I think, on the Cubs staff. It's just a question of whether he can do it consistently, and up to this point, he's been doing pretty well.
I'm also going to mention Luis Severino. He, another Yankee pitcher, but he's on the IL, but he's coming back soon. He did have, I wouldn't even call it a setback. He had some back pain. Listen, I'm a back pain specialist. That's not a setback. He can just come to me and he'll be fine. I do sometimes worry about it because some people don't know me about that, but it sounds like it's minor. It's not a major setback. I had a question for you. I'm seeing Hunter Green. He's one of these not available guys because he's in the minors. This guy is a big time prospect. I'm seeing that there's an update on him. I don't know what it is though because my computer is pinwheeling. Oh no, I can't.
So Hunter Green is the Reds' first pick. Like 2 years ago, had Tommy John surgery from Southern California. In high school, he's throwing 102. Spring training this year, he threw 104. The Reds have to bring him up. I love Hunter Green. We're going to interview him on one of our shows, hopefully soon. He is one of my favorite Reds right now, and if he's coming up, it'd be great.
I think to me, you pick him up even before Mackenzie Gore at this point because Mackenzie Gore is apparently struggling.
Yeah, there's saying stuff about
a friend of mine has him on his team, and he won't drop him or anything. I don't know.
Oh no, I'm ready to cut him, but there's really nobody to pick up and put in his place. I'm ready.
And if we're talking about prospects real quick, I want to throw one in. Everybody's talking about Wander Franco in Tampa Bay and that he is the next great thing, and it's certainly possible. But I don't even know if he's going to be the first Tampa Bay Ray the first Ray that they call up. They have a second baseman, Vidal Brujan, who is a speed specialist. Right now, he stole 24 bases apiece in high A and double A in 2019, 24 apiece at each location. So 48 steals. He bats over 300. He's got a great hit tool, and suddenly he's found power this year. He's gotten 4 home runs in the first 6 games. So if he keeps doing that in the minors, he might be the first one called up because they need.
I'm picking him up. I'm going to pick him up today, Kasey. Thank you for the hint.
I'm going to keep rolling, though, with what the names sound like to me. Vidal Brujan sounds like a delicious wine. Red wine.
I think of Vidal Sassoon, the hair products.
Well, that could be, but Brujan, it's different than Sassoon. All right, let's go to relief pitchers, the dreaded closer position. That's like a rotating door of just hitting you on the head with a piece of plywood. That's what trying to be a fantasy sports player while dealing with closers is like. We've had some ups and downs. I'm going to mention one. Jordan Romano is very much back on the list because the guy who took his job when he went on the list, why am I blanking on his name? Who's the guy? Rafael Dolis. He just went down with his own injury, and Jordan Romano back on the radar as far as I'm concerned. Ross, who do we got?
I like, it's the theme today is the San Francisco Giants, guys. That's the theme. Every player we talk about is from San Francisco. It's unbelievable. So McGee, the closer I was going to say the 49ers. That's how crazy I am. The closer for the Giants, McGee has been struggling really badly. ERA like over 10 the past week. I mean, horrible. I mean, he's been giving up home runs like nobody has. So Tyler Rogers, his ERA for the year case is .82. I mean, this guy's throwing like unbelievable stuff, and I think they're going to make him the closer in San Francisco. So, and he's like available in like 80-something% of leagues. So if you need a closer, don't tell Dan about this because I want to pick this kid up. But I'm going to pick Tyler Rogers up just to screw with Dan today.
All right. I hate to break it to you, but you just told me.
Oh, no.
I was listening.
Yeah. I tried to close my ears, but I will say there's one caveat on him, which is he doesn't strike out a lot of guys, and sometimes that can lead to a lack of success.
Dan,
I still agree with you.
Dan, what's his ERA?
You said it, and I wasn't listening. You told me not to.
Oh, yeah, but his ERA is under 1. He's been struggling. Who do you think is going to be closing in San Francisco? It's not Sergio Romo. He's not there anymore, so it's going to be Rogers.
No, I'm just saying, take a look at that. Take a look at that roster. If you're going to pick up Rogers and you're really speculating on saves, I'd pick up the next guy up too, because if he struggles,
okay, we'll see what happens. Okay, Kasey and I will pick up Rogers. We'll see what you do.
All right, you go ahead. I'm not going to do it. Kasey, go ahead. Who do you have?
I'm going to list Trevor May again. I talked about him last week for the Mets. I am not a big believer in Edwin Diaz being consistent, and I think May has been pitching great, and he's even gotten a save in the last 2 weeks. So I think he would be the next in line for saves there. The Mets their offense seems to have come alive, so there could be some good opportunities there. I'm going to go really deep with somebody here. I'm a Mark Melancon owner, and I've been really happy with his performance. I'm not saying I trust him incredibly. So somebody I'd be looking at is Austin Adams. He's a reliever in San Diego, obviously, who he's striking out almost 2 batters an inning. He's got a zero ERA in the last 2 weeks and a .46 whip. I think, Tim Hill, I believe it's Tim Hill, was pitching well for them up until about a week ago, and he's gotten shelled in the last few times he's gone out there. So this is a guy who could keep moving deeper into higher leverage situations. And if and when Melancon struggles, he could be somebody who could poach some saves.
I like looking at Melancon as a possible one to struggle, because he also doesn't strike out a lot of guys, and that leaves a lot less room for error. But interestingly, I thought you were going to go with Drew Pomerance. So this is a Williams Astudillo moment where you had the wrong player on the right team. I'm not saying you are wrong, by the way, but I would go with Drew Pomerance if in that situation. How about this? Are there any middle relievers that are just like, you got to have them at this point? I'm going to throw out Giovanni Gallegos. I already mentioned him, but
I think Yusmeiro Petit in Oakland is another one who's a middle reliever who's just putting up pretty crazy numbers across the board right now.
DJ Antone of the Reds. I love this name. This guy is for sure from the South. This is like the most Southern name I've heard in my life. Sam Coonrod, who plays for the Philadelphia Phillies. He got the save last week. They've been kind of mixing it up with save artists in Philadelphia. Coonrod's ERA is under 2. He's pitching great. Throws pretty hard. Coonrod, just the name alone. How can you forget that name? Bring Coonrod in.
Yeah, I'm Sam Coonrod. I'm from the deep South.
Exactly, Coonrod. So Coonrod, middle relief. I like him a lot. We'll see what he does.
I like it. All right, guys, we got some time here. So what I want to talk about now, I want to talk about guys that you are so frustrated with, and it's time to cut bait on them. Who's out there that you've had on your teams that you're just like, I'm done. Stick a fork in it.
Well, one of my preseason sleepers, and I talked about it in the shortstop segment of our preseason sleepers, was Willy Castro. I was really high on him because he hit every level through the minors. He was a power speed guy. So I made sure I drafted him. And with Mondesi, as I talked about earlier, on the shelf, I've had to play him a lot, and he's been killing me. So I gladly picked up Nico Goodrum to replace him, and I'm happy to, at this point, cut bait, I think, with him.
Okay, now Ross is going to laugh at this. I did not mean this, Ross, but I will admit that you were right. It's time for Carlos Correa to get the boot.
He's like 50.58 in May. Look at his base stats. He's not as bad as the guy I'm going to say, but he's pretty close.
Yeah, well, he's so bad that I actually started to forget what his name is. That's where you know that's
Carlos Correa.
No, I remember his first name is Carlos, but I was thinking Carlos Arroyo. When you start thinking about Carlos Arroyo when it's Carlos Correa.
No, I don't know.
Your career has tailspin. Yes.
Exactly.
Again, he's not hitting well. It's time to cut ties with.
So who do you have, Ross?
He's on my team. I'm not going to cut him, but I would trade him. Case is Aaron Judge
to a Yankee fan. I hear that.
Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees. In the month of May, he's hitting .48. I mean,
and it seems like being somebody who watches a lot of Yankees games, I mean, he looks lost at the plate with what
I don't know what's going on. And
he reminds me a lot of Richie Sexson. Do you guys remember Richie Sexson?
Yeah,
I remember
10 years ago.
Seattle Mariner, Brewer.
He was like, but he was 7 feet tall, so his strike zone. I mean, he was like 6'8", like Judge's. His strike zone was so huge that it was almost impossible not to have a hole in your swing that they could exploit. And when they figured out where it was, I mean, he was out of the league within 2 years. It felt like. And
then Stanton's like killing ball. This Stanton looks great. I mean, I got him too. I got all these Yankees.
And you called
I don't know why I have all these.
Yeah, you were big on him preseason. That was a good call.
I like Stanton a lot. I think he's showing a lot of promise right now. But Aaron Judge, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know if they should just bench him for a few games. I don't know if they should just keep playing him. I don't know what you do.
What's Mookie Betts doing these days?
Mookie Betts is starting to hit.
Is he?
Yeah, he had a huge home run 2 nights ago. I watched him. He gets the Dodgers playing. The Dodgers have been playing really horrible baseball lately. I mean, they're not been playing well. They won last night, but the fans and even Bauer, the pitcher, he's even calling players out now. I mean, it's getting nasty here in LA. Players are getting mad because they're world champions. They should be in first place, right?
And
Wrong.
A pitcher I want to list on this is Luis Castillo in Cincinnati. He's been terrible. And he's supposed to be this ace of the staff, and he has been atrocious.
ERA over 6. If I had him on my team, I swear I would drop him. I swear I would.
I don't see why not. You really could. I mean, at this point in the season,
at this point, he has you can't trade him.
And one of my good friends in our league has him. My friend Andrew, who's actually somebody's cousin here on the show, has Castillo on his team. I'm sure he's pulling his hair out. Wait a minute. He doesn't have any hair. So
I think he kept him. I think he was one of his keepers.
He was one of his keepers. And listen, when we look up Schadenfreude in the dictionary, there's a picture of me watching Andrew play Luis Castillo in his lineup. Come on. That's amazing.
I love that word, Schadenfreude.
It's the best. Too. It's the best.
Those are great. Okay, so I mean, Castillo's a great call. I mean, again, he was supposed to be the Reds ace this year. He's not the Reds ace. He'd be lucky if he doesn't get demoted soon.
I think he is the top ace pitcher who is disappointed to the point where it may be time to cut bait. Another guy I'll mention is Patrick Corbin. He did not come in nearly with the setup of Luis Castillo, but Corbin's been good before, and some people hoped for a rebound. I drafted him in our other league, the head-to-head league, and I moved on from him in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, you just drop him.
His goose is cooked. Yeah. So let's now go to players that you think you really want to trade for. That are, and I'm gonna throw a caveat in here. I want these to be players who have done great. There's no reason the player would be sold. These are players who are hitting just like they should, but you just salivate over them. You want them on your team. Ross, let's go with you.
I mean, we talked about him a little earlier. Is Juan Soto I love, and I just feel that the owners are not high on him that much because they picked him so high. And I know he's not hitting well. He's like 230 with like 3 home runs, but he's somebody that's he better pick it up because they're paying him a lot of money. And he also is touted to be like the Mike Trout of the National League. So Soto for me is somebody that I like a lot. Another player that I really love is Bogarts of the Red Sox. I have him on league. I mean, he's like consistent every game, power, RBIs, even get some stolen bases. Bogarts to me is somebody that if I didn't have him on my team, I would definitely try to trade for him. Yeah,
now this should be known. Ross traded Bogarts, but he did get Mookie Betts in the deal, so I can't fault you for that.
Right, but in our other league, we have Bogarts too.
That's true. Maybe that's why you traded him. You needed to diversify.
There you go.
I would love to trade for Bogarts. In fact, I did offer Soto in a Bogarts deal, and the owner turned me down. Chris Atwater. Probably
Chris
Atwater,
you missed out. You should have done it.
Well, I appreciate you arguing that. Now, I think Aaron Judge is actually going to be okay.
We all do. It's only 6 weeks. We're 6 weeks in this season, but just to see a guy struggle like that is unbelievable. And if I was Kasey, I would make the owner I would make some offers.
A big trade offer, right?
Now Ross knows this, but I want Wander Franco. I wanted him since the beginning, and I only want him more because we're getting that fever pitch time where Wander Franco he's the guy who he's the thing now. Is he the next big thing?
The closer we come to his date when he appears in Major League Baseball, that's when his stock gets really high. So right now, his stock's not as high as it should be because he's
high
not in the majors.
It's pretty high though, and like
I'm not disagreeing.
And this, I say this to Kasey all the time. He's come to agree with me on this, I'm pretty sure. There are plenty of times where it pays to overpay. Because that's the only way you're going to get a player like that. If you are that certain, and especially in a keeper league or even more in a dynasty league, overpay. You cannot overpay for Wander
I think Wander Franco is one of these guys that can't miss player.
He's the next.
These players come out once every 5 years.
He's the next Tatis. I think you got to grab Wander Franco if you can. Now, everybody, I want to thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get into an argument about Ian Happ. I can't wait. Thank you so much for watching, everybody.
As a reward for making Gilcliff the undisputed clean energy drink of America and beyond, we've packed in more B vitamins, electrolytes, and killer taste than ever. And as a bonus, we've made the ultimate loyalty program. It's not a Coke, it's not a club, it's the Gilcliff Coke Club. Tap into special offers like flash sales and exclusive merch, deep discounts, and eternal awesomeness. Go to Gilcliff.com to get your discounts on.